What's good, everybody? This is Slayer from Beat Machine Productions. Today, I'm going to be doing a breakdown on a drill beat that AB and I made together just the other day. So, this is a dark orchestral type beat. So, let's get into it. All right, so on this beat, the first thing that we started with was a brass bank from Contact, the brass ensemble. Turned this all the way up for the dynamic, so it's got a lot of punch. And then for the articulation, we put it on staccato, which of course is going to be the short, punchy attack. Isolated, this is going to be in octaves here. So we have the low option, and then we have an octave right above that. So the next thing that we did was we actually doubled that same bank, same presets, and then we loaded up some chords. So this is going from a D minor chord. So there's D, A, and then the F right here. So obviously the F would have been right here, but we brought that up an octave just to give it a little bit of different voicing. And that's going up to an E flat minor chord. So it's going up just one half step here. So E flat, G flat, B flat, and then it's got the other octave here. So this is what that sounds like. So after that, the next thing we did was we made a third instance of Contact on that brass bank, and we did the same exact chords that we did earlier, but we just did these up another octave, so that way, instead of being like a trombone baritone voicing, now this is more like the French horns. So this is what this sounds like here. So just a little bit brighter sound than what we had. So this is what this sounds like. And you'll notice that I have the brass panned for the chords. The lower chords are going to the right, and the higher chords are going to the left, just to give it a little bit more stereo width for what's going on. And the next thing that we had was actually just an organ, and this organ is also from Contact. So this is the setting here, just the hybrid keys. And this is what the organ sounds like. So this is just going to play the same chords as the brass, just holding through. And then I just kind of did a sweep across the keyboard here. I played this in live, and then I came through and manipulated a little bit of it just to make sure that it was all lining up. In the mix, it's kind of hard to hear, but it is another layer that's there. I also went through the panning, and I kind of panned it hard left going to hard right, just to give it a little bit more texture and stereo width. So the next thing that we added in after the organ was a bell preset from Omnisphere. Here's the preset here, and it's a very simple part, but just adding a little bit of texture to what's going on. And this is what it sounds like isolated. And this is just outlining chord tones for the most part. So in both of those, the only non-chord tone is right here, the third note in each, because this is part of the chord, the D minor chord, D, A, and then F, and then the E flat minor chord, E flat, B flat, and G flat. And then, of course, this non-chord tone right here, going by step up to the third of that chord is all that's going on there. So the next thing after the bell pad from Omnisphere was another instance of Contact underneath the Cloud Supply bank. And this is the Fear preset here. And this is a pretty simple part. This is really just outlining the chord tones again, just like the bell was, but just in a different pattern. And so everything played just now, except for just this one tone here, was all inside of the chords that we were already using. So everything fit easily. So it just kind of adds some extra texture, and that's the reason that we added this one. And the final thing that we added, as far as melodies are concerned, were some pizzicato strings. And I want to say that these were from Contact as well, and they are. So this is the string ensemble. Again, we turn up the dynamics all the way just so that they have the most intense sound. And this is what they sound like. And so you'll notice that if you look closely, these are not exactly lined up. I actually used the strum features. So I highlighted and then I hit Option S. And so that brings up the strum tool. And I just turn this on for all of them because even in a real ensemble, the strings are not going to be exactly perfect. And it also adds a little bit of thickness to the sound. So that's what's going on with the pizzicato strings. So after we had all of our melodies done, I combined all of them on the playlist. I consolidated them, and then I brought them down 2 steps, 200 cents. And then I took that same melody and then I reversed it and put that on the playlist. So this is what it sounds like in the new key. On it, I just added some Kramer tape just to add some grittiness to the sound because it was still kind of just too high fidelity for what we wanted to get out of the sound. We wanted to degrade it just a little bit. And then I took that same melody and then I just reversed it. And so this is what that sounds like. We got that sound from cutting out a lot of the low end, and then I cut out some of the high end as well. And then I also pulled up some RC20. And so I went to the magnitude transition 1, and then I altered it just a little bit, turned off the noise, and then adjusted some of these settings as well, and then made sure that the EQ was continuing to cut out some of the highs and a lot of the lows because I wanted this to be more of like a background part inside of the beat. So after this, we went straight to the 808. All right, so on the 808, we actually have 3 different patterns. We had one for the chorus, and then one for the first part of the verse, the second part of the verse, and then for the third part, we really do a bridge that doesn't have an 808. And then we have just maybe like a little 808 fill going into the chorus again. So this is what the patterns are playing individually. So this is the first pattern. And so you'll notice that the last 2 tones on this, on the slides, I actually have them panned. So this is what the second pattern sounds like. And then for the third pattern during the chorus, this is definitely the busiest pattern of all. So that last pattern is definitely the most complex. And this all uses like the same ideas. Like this first part here is pretty much the same in all of the patterns. And then we just added a few more notes. And most of these are chord tones. The only times that we kind of go outside of that is right here and then the very end of this pattern as well. So after the 808, we went into the drums. This is a hi-hat pattern we pulled. So it sounds good, but we wanted to spice it up just a little bit. So I put some flangus and some chorus on it just to give it, a little bit more texture. So now this is what it sounds like. You can see without and then with. So after the hi-hat pattern, we threw in the kick drum. So after the kick drum, I added the snare drum This snare drum's a little bit thicker, and that's because we doubled up because we wanted more body to the sound. And you'll notice on these last two ghost notes here, I did pan those hard left and hard right. And the next thing we added was just another drill hi-hat. And so this is just to complement the other loop that we had going on to give a little bit more variety. And so on these, I did do a little bit of panning on this as well, on some of these lower fills. Again, just to give some more stereo field imagery to what's going on and just to kind of spice it up a little bit. So once we finished the drums, a few other things that we added, transition. And then we also added a stomp effect on the beginning of each loop. And then a rim that backs up the last snare hit in each loop as well. So this is what all of the drums sound like together. So one of the final things that we did whenever we were arranging is I took all of the melodies that were playing and then I consolidated those down on the playlist and then created this sample here. And then I threw some shaper box on it, just adding a filter. And then I had two different EQs going on. One was to cut out the highs and the lows. And then there was a frequency in the snares that I didn't like because of the filter that we put on it. So I just cut some of that out as well. And so hearing that transition and context, this is what it sounds like with the full beat. Well, that's all for today's video. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Be sure to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the beat. See you guys next time.